And the America First agenda that is defined by this president is going to be very hard-nosed, and we're going to have to all take account of this new reality and make some fundamental decisions about our economy and about our security. There is a lot of unhappiness, I have to say, and the rise of patriotism in our country, and we tend to soft pedal it usually, is perhaps one of the positive elements of this whole psychodrama, and it's much more than, of course, than a psychodrama. Right now, we're confronting a reality, and so is, I believe, the UK and other friends and allies of the United States, and that is that Pax Americana is over, and the America First agenda that is defined by this president is going to be very hard-nosed, and we're going to have to all take account of this new reality and make some fundamental decisions about our economy and about our security. And Canada, of course, is, as a neighbor and a friend and a country that trades with the United States to the point of 75% of our total trade. This is, of course, a shocking development, but it's a wake-up call that we're going to have to take some action in the short term and the intermediate term. We're not really believing that the Marines are going to be arriving at the Toronto International Airport anytime soon, but we have to account for the fact that the on and off tariffs can have a really devastating impact on the Canadian economy, and we have to deal with that reality. We're surprised because ours is a incredibly fruitful and beneficial bilateral trade arrangement for both our countries. It has been for many decades. Unfortunately, the president seems to feel that trade, and particularly trade deficits, are the result of bad acting by trading partners. And he doesn't seem to understand that trade deficits are not a subsidy. They're a result of less savings domestically than investment. And that Canada, while it represents a trade deficit for the United States, really that deficit turns into a surplus if you take out oil and gas, which we're selling to the United States at a significant discount to international prices. So they're happy to take our oil and gas. The alternative would be Venezuela or Iran or Iraq, where the prices would be higher and they'd be dealing with unfriendly and unstable countries. So clearly, they're benefiting from this trade relationship in a significant way, but the president doesn't fully appreciate that reality. What is starting to happen, however, is in the United States, he's getting a lot of pushback from a variety of American industries that will be significantly hurt by the tariffs. Now, because of the disparity in the size of our two economies, it's about 9 or 10 times larger than Canada's. The tariffs will hurt the United States less than they'll hurt Canada, but they still will be negative, and the decline in the stock market was a reflection of that.
Joe, all of this uncertainty that we have, because of course, one day the tariffs were on, the following day they were suspended partially for certain products until April the 2nd. We've seen that there has been a knock-on effect in the US stock market. What is it doing to the Canadian economy? And of course, the reciprocal tariffs mean that prices have risen for Canadian citizens. So how is the Canadian economy responding to what we've been seeing?
Well, in the short term, some of the response has been, unfortunately, quite negative, and understandably so, because the uncertainty means that companies are going to be reluctant to make capital investments.
Right.
And in any case, the concern that the Canadian economy will be negatively impacted, and the U.S. economy will be less so. A lot of companies are considering whether they should be moving some of their operations to the United States, which of course is precisely what President Trump wants. So even in the short term, I've heard from a number of smaller businesses that they're delaying capital investment, and they're considering moving some of their factories, or at least their expansion plans, to the United States. In the longer term, a set of tariffs imposed on Canada to the extent of 25% and 10% on oil and gas would have a very negative impact on our economy. The Bank of Canada estimated we'd be in a pretty serious recession within 2 or 3 months.
Right.
So this is very serious, and we're doing what we can to make our case to the American administration, to congressmen and senators who represent states that would be negatively impacted. But we can't just sit here and not respond, and that's why countermeasures are already in place, and quite a number are going to be imposed. Later continues.
Okay, Joe, I just wanted to get your thoughts finally on the Canadian election that is, of course, not in the too distant future. And up until a few months ago, it would have been a pretty safe prediction to say that there would be a decisive victory for your former party, the Conservative Party. Now, perhaps it's not looking as assured because of Donald Trump and the Liberals being able to rise in the opinion polls. Now, they're about to elect their leader. Would you say that Donald Trump has actually changed the political landscape in Canada right now?
Well, actually, he has. And I think that was one of the unintended consequences. One of the reasons, of course, that the polls, which had us ahead by 20 to 25%, were going to settle down a little bit, is because the prime minister is really a very disliked figure right now. And so his resignation would change things somewhat. But Donald Trump's talk about a 51st state and the resurgence of patriotism has been a black swan, which has handed a lifeline to the Liberal Party. The very latest polls still show us ahead about 8 or 9 points, but it's more of a horse race than it was before. I don't think he intended that. I don't think he's necessarily happy with that. He dislikes Justin Trudeau personally, and Trudeau has exacerbated the problem by calling Americans sexist for not having voted for the female candidate for the presidency. So he said to Donald Trump, it's too bad that you actually won the election. This isn't a particularly smart thing to say to the huge bully next door, who is extremely sensitive, as we all know. So this has put a completely new element into the election, and now it's important for the Conservative Party to talk about how it would, and Pierre Poilievre, the leader, would stand up to the American threats.